Hello and welcome back to the God the Artist podcast. I'm your host, Morgan McCarver, and today we have special guest Addie Oat. Is it Oat or Ott?
It's odd. That's a
Ott.
fun way to say it, like oats. So I really like that.
It's like there's two T's, could go either way.
Either way, love
Well,
it.
Addie, thank you so much for joining me. I cannot wait to talk to you. Just looking at your website already, I just knew that we were on the same track, same page with this creativity that God has inspired. So tell us a little bit about how you realized you were a creative person and what your creative field looks like.
Yeah, well, Morgan, I have to say the same thing right back at you. I looked at your website and I was like, oh, you do pottery. And I was like, oh, that's like the one thing I need to learn still. So I feel like you're going to teach me some things too in this conversation. It's just such a joy to be here with our friends listening and a little bit of just about kind of about my creative journey. I mean, I go all the way back, Morgan, to like eighth grade, which is like kind of wild when you're like, really, Addie? And I'm like, no, actually, really. Like, I was really wrestling. I think I would say probably you actually look at it, the questions I was asking God these deeper questions about my identity, but really my passions. And you might be similar in this way of like, growing up, oh, you're a good student and you might be creative, but there just wasn't something that you're like, oh, this is exactly it. And a little disclaimer, my brother found guitar and music at like an early age, and so I was kind of following in his footsteps in some ways where I was like, well, he found his thing like at a young age. That's so normal. And I'm like, actually, most people don't find it maybe until they're 30 or 40, like realistically. So that's kind of a disclaimer there, but I was so serious and like so sincere in my questions, asking God, just really walking with Him at a close age, closely at a young age, and asking Him, like, hey, what am I good at? Like, it's not just being a good student, like, that can get you some jobs, but like, you usually have to have like a field of something, to do. And I asked my friends, and they're like, yeah, Addie, like, that's your thing. You're just creative. And I was like, guys, do you know me? Like, I can't draw at all. I can maybe sketch now. I've learned that. But I really say like God put a camera in my hands and then he put another tool in my hand, like put, a laptop and put writing and video, like all these different things. But really it started with a camera in my hands and just honestly an art teacher, Lydia Trailer, saying, hey, Addie, like, do you know you could go to art school for this? And I had no idea, Morgan, that that was like a place that existed outside of normal college. So that's a high flyby overview of how I got started.
Awesome. And then you went to college, I'm guessing, for a
Yeah.
degree in the arts.
Yes. So I went to SCAD, known as Savannah College of Art and Design, and the art people know what that is. But growing up in a small town, small private Christian school in Indiana, kind of Indianapolis area, that really was kind of unheard of. I was like, that is a place you can go. And when I went there, Morgan, I like just went to the photography building, like 3 floors and the basement. I was like, this is like my Target version or like a superstore of photography. And I was like, this is amazing. And I just felt the Lord just say, Addie, like, the art world is, can be really dark and there needs to be light in places like this. And you're supposed to be here. And I was terrified to go there because I was 13 hours away from home in Savannah, Georgia. I didn't know anyone there and it was the most expensive school at the time for me, so that was terrifying if I'm being honest. But I just saw God show up in scholarship after scholarship, and that is where I really discovered true authentic community and like biblical fellowship. And then I added my minor in graphic design, I think like midway through my college career. And Morgan, I thought I was going to be terrible at it. I was like, this is so embarrassing. Like, how do you use Illustrator and InDesign? Because I had up other friends who were really good at that because that was their major, and they've like kind of gone through the freshman phases of that, and I'm starting in the middle of it. So I was like, don't look at my work, don't look at my Beach Boys magazine spread. It's like it's not good right now. But just like learning to be refined and to grow in your craft and to be a beginner again and to try something new. Like it's okay. And you will never know if that is something that lights you up if you don't put it in your hands. I think that's like the beautiful gift of creativity, and also especially believe like when we're younger in our 20s. I'm not quite 30 yet, but I think I'm so grateful for the ways that I said, you know what, I actually might not be good at this, and that's okay. And at the same time, I've fallen in love with all these different loves of creativity, whether it be writing, podcasting. Like, I wouldn't even have this conversation with you if I didn't start a podcast, I don't know how many years ago, and just learn that at my church. So there's so much we can talk about. But going to school, having these professional tools, I still use them today. I mean, I was just talking to one of my friends yesterday about SCAD and this kind of high bar it sets and this expectations. And I'm so grateful for that kind of community and just people to show me that there's a different way to live life and that it's beautiful all around us with creativity.
You said that so well. Yes, I toured SCAD. I'm in North Carolina, but at the time I was in South Carolina, so I'm very familiar with SCAD. I have a cousin there now. Um, Great school, and I think you might have heard this too. I think it's interesting how a lot of my church community did not want me to go to an art school because that was where the sinners are.
I mean, yeah, that's true, but also like we're both sinners too. But it's kind of like, or like it's kind of the whole world is wide open there. And that's like a good refining thing of your faith. I really, in my experience, it was actually really healthy to have that. To be like, oh wait, people don't think the same way. And that's a good thing to have for different friends and have different conversations and to be able to like look at your art and see how you can actually share the gospel in your classroom as a student. It's incredibly terrifying, but I'm so glad that I was like encouraged by my friends and by our community at church to use our creativity for, Jesus and for the gospel. But you're so right, Morgan. I know. I love that you're in North Carolina, South Carolina, so you totally get that world. I love that.
Yeah. Okay, I have to ask you completely off topic now. Did you like sweet tea? Did you come to the South
Oh
and
my
like,
gosh. No, this is
no?
hilarious. Okay, because I'm like, I'm such a, McDonald's Coke is like the best, original, of course, unless it's like the cane sugar with the bottle, like there's different ones, but I have a funny story. It was my baby during finals week or something, quarter system, SCAD, 10 weeks. It's kind of grueling, it's intense. And so it's probably, maybe after midnight, and there's this one Wendy's in Savannah that still stays open because there wasn't a ton that's open in downtown Savannah. So my friends are like, hey, let's go get some Wendy's. And I remember I was so excited to just have a Coke and I took a big sip and it was sweet tea and I said, "What in the world is this?" It was so bad. And I feel so bad for my friends who are like, "Addie, it's so delicious," but I'm like, I'm just not a tea drinker and that's okay. Just give me an ice cold Coke and that's it. But do you like sweet tea? Like, did you learn to like it?
I didn't growing up, which I've always lived in the South, but I didn't growing up, but around college is when I learned that I like tea. More green tea than like sweet black tea traditionally. But yeah, sounds like we didn't fully convince you to become a Southerner, but that's okay. You gave it a good shot.
I tried. I mean, I did enjoy to love coffee there. I learned to like it. I survived my freshman year with no coffee, which is surprising.
Wow.
But just the iced coffee, it's just a lot more cream or a lot more milk with your coffee. But that's okay too. So I know. But never say never. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So tell us a little bit about your book. You have so many different talents, and I know you have written something really beautiful, and I can't wait for you to talk about it.
Yeah, well, you're so kind to ask. I love talking about this. It's kind of about that biblical community and fellowship I mentioned in college. And not that I never thought I'd write a book, but sometimes those thoughts are just fleeting, like, oh, that'd be cool. And as a designer, I was like, why do I like books so much? I realized I'm like, I really love all the covers and the design and the packaging and the intentionality behind it. But the writing process is such a different aspect of creativity and it's such a beautiful journey with God. But this book really was birthed out of those kind of 4, maybe 5 years in college, kind of post grad as well, where just God opened the door for community for me. And so my book, Fellowship Over Followers, it is helping people discover authentic community in a hurried world of comparison. So Morgan, you and I know it's so hard to be a creative, to be an artist, and to look at portfolios and to be like, well, that's hard. They're really good. Or kind of get caught up in these lies and traps of comparison, or that person got more likes, or they have more followers, or more sales, or more business. Whatever the lie is, it's just a false place of our identity where we just forget to look to Jesus. And those lies are everywhere, regardless of what your profession is, but especially for us creatives, we can really take that to heart because our creativity is like an inward expression too of like who we are and how God's wired us to be. Um, and I honestly, though, was so quiet in high school. And so just having a fresh start was a really healthy thing for me. And it's really a gift from God in a lot of ways where I just got to be fully myself, who God has created me to be and start over, make new friends, and kind of just grow into this creative that really God, I think, has called me to be. And so with that, I just was able to honestly like experience this different type of fellowship where it is truly fixing our eyes on Jesus first and knowing our identity in him, remembering the gospel, not just like knowing it, because we know the gospel here, in America, in the States. It's pretty well known, but really taking it to heart and letting that transform us daily where it's out of an overflow we're able to love one another and also like go to one another in community and fellowship like when it's hard, forgiveness. I talk about that in my book, like all of these things. We may know how to make friends, but I think we're all searching for something deeper, not just these shallow friendships. Like I tell my friends, I'm like, who are the 2 a.m. friends, who you can call? Like a lot of us don't have that, and so that was a really big burden on my heart. Whereas, like, I'm not a total expert, but I said, like, community, I'll just be friends with everyone. There's not a place that, like, I really belong. And God totally, like, abolished that lie in the best way. And these friends, Morgan, like, they're married. Some have their first kid, their second kid, and I'm Aunt Addie, just me and my dog Kodak, and we get to go visit them. But these friends, I've been friends with them for 10 plus years. And, like, it truly does get sweeter with time. And what a gift for them just to be able to, like, for all of us to walk together towards Jesus where they know my flaws, like, and I know kind of the burdens that we're all carrying. But we get to go through life together and seasons change, but at the same time, like, friendship is worth it and it's worth the fight to continue to make new friends too wherever you go, and in different seasons, and to hold it loosely because it is a gift and it's not a burden to carry. It's a gift to steward.
So how do you envision this book being absorbed? Are you reading it by yourself, or is this something you do like as a friend group or as a church group?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I really want to make it into an audiobook as well. So I'm kind of like working on that on the, out of the other many things I'm doing, that's still in the back of my mind, just to make it more accessible to people because everyone learns differently. And I think that would be a really fun way to just help people learn together, kind of do a book club format in that way. But really, I've had a couple groups of women where they just pick the book for their book of the month club or for their church and go through it. And one of the things I love, because I'm a big journaler and reflection is such a powerful tool, that I put all of the kind of discussion questions in the end of like each chapter. So, and before you move on and just like read through it and read to the next chapter, you totally can. Like read however you want to, right? But for friends who are like, wait, I really want to take this to heart. I really want to dive in and like have my life be transformed by this. And honestly, my heart is for my friends who are reading this, anyone reading it, is that their heart is transformed by the words of Jesus, right? And it points them back to scripture, back to the gospel. And their heart's changed and they're able to be like, wait, I actually know what this is, like defining the root of comparison and praying to God and just like asking for these friends, just we have to be honest and be vulnerable, and if we're not doing that with God, how can we expect ourselves to show that up to a friendship in that same way? So there's a lot of different ways you can do that. But of course, I think it's better just to grab one more person, get 2 copies, and say, hey, I heard this book on a podcast. Would you read this with me? And if you need a friend to process something with, you can always email me at hello@addisonot.com as well. So you're not alone, friends.
Yeah, especially that you're able to be that resource as well. I can't think of many authors where you can just like email them up and be like, hey, I'm going
Please.
through a thing. So that's really amazing that you're able to continue your ministry in that way. And it sounds like your book is already out and people have been reading it. How has it been received?
I think pretty well. I mean, it's the first time I've released a book, and I'm working on the second book as we speak as well, which is exciting and also daunting to do it all over again. But for the first time doing anything, I mean, Morgan, it's exciting and terrifying at the same time. It's like this roller coaster of emotions. But I think one of the biggest things, because the book has been released for a couple years now, and one of the best things that was just like the kindness of God to me is I gathered my community of friends and kind of like teachers and parents who have like just helped, kind of raise me, I guess, just like your village of people where they've like known all these different versions of Addie. And they actually showed up to like do this like book celebration thing. And one of my friends, Julie B, I can never pronounce her last name. It's like Butchenkirch. It's so long. So she's Julie B. I love her so much. And we did like this little podcast style kind of interview about the book, and just to have friends be excited about it. But even like before that happened, Julie and I just going through some questions. She was just like, Addie, like, I loved this that you said, or I love this how you pulled that out. And I was like, I don't think people understand how encouraging that is when you try something new, because I am still getting started and I'm learning. And I think the benefit, even if, we want so many people to read it, but also like I discovered a new layer of myself, of creativity, and just walking with Jesus as well. But I think one of the coolest things, Morgan, is just like some random conversations with like friends or family in my community of people where I haven't seen them in like maybe 5 or 10 years or something like that, and they just like pop up on my radar, and then we just get to chat about the book because it's there, and it's like this on ramp that is like such a great kind of catalyst for the gospel, and those are the type of conversations I want to have. So I feel like it's doing some good in the world, and I just want to keep sharing that message that community is out there for the people who are looking for it.
That's amazing, and that you're so gracious and humble to say, this is all the Lord, this isn't me, this book is out here, and you're actually reconnecting and building those relationships that maybe you thought never would be revived again. I think that really is God's blessing to you by honoring Him to write that book that He was calling you to write, is to give you that community back as well. So I've got to ask though, second book, what what are we on the same theme? Is it a sequel? Is it something different?
Yeah, you're so kind to ask. I love talking about this. I literally told a friend last night, and she was like, Addie, what? Like, it was casually at the end of our conversation. I was like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, like, just like bamboozle you. But I'm like, oh, yeah, this is just my life. Like, this is what I feel like God's leading me to do, even though it's a hard and daunting thing. Again, you think, oh, I've done it once, I can do it again. It Every book is different. And so this book is really exciting because there is kind of this series that I'm working on that I felt God kind of like, I don't say download, but really just inspire me as I was working on this first book, kind of this over series, quote unquote. So fellowship over followers. So then the next one, the next couple will be something over something. And it could change, so don't hold me to that. But my heart is really to help like this kind of series of books be this hope that you can pass on to people, especially young people, young adults who are asking these questions that are just a part of the Christian faith, a part of following Jesus. And so this second book is all about prayer, and that's really exciting. And it's such a different book though, which is like so cool and kind of the Lord to be like, hey Addie, like you thought it was going to be this way, but buckle up, it's going to be a totally different adventure and stuff. But now I can kind of like envision it with him of like, this is how it's going to be packaged and how it can actually help serve more people by getting so specific of who this book is for.
Thinking through every detail way ahead of time, which is amazing. Way more than I do. I just kind of say, okay, I think this is what you're saying, Lord. Let's see what happens.
Hey, sometimes I do that too, and then I'm like, wait a minute, okay, that was not meant to stay, and that's okay. We throw like a lot of spaghetti at the wall, and what sticks, and be adaptable. I think that's such a great skill to have as a creative. So I'm right there with you, Morgan. At like 12:30 at night, you're like, this is the next idea.
Yep. I use that expression all the time too,
Mhm.
the spaghetti on the wall.
Yeah.
And it's so true. I think, like you were saying, as a creative person, you don't know what you're good at until you try a lot of things. And you're not going to be the best at it when you try it for the first time, too. And I think a lot of people forget that. And in your book, talking about comparison, I'm sure that is just such a relief for a lot of people to be able to feel like, oh, we're not alone in this.
Oh yeah. I mean, we all wrestle with it and like at the core root of it, comparison is a really healthy, like it's a good thing. It can be a healthy tool. And I kind of talk about that, unpack it a little bit more of just like how our brain is wired. Like, yeah, we're gonna like process information. God wired us this way because if we didn't, we wouldn't know like what is left and what's right and what's a stop sign and like we wouldn't know anything kind of in some ways. And so it is actually a healthy tool and a good thing because I mean, we've heard it said probably before, Morgan, of like the same kind of people like that you are. I mean, like you're going to be attracted or drawn to that type of personality or that kind of person. I mean, that's why like believers, I think, find one another when we're on planes or when we're traveling on vacation. You're like, oh my gosh, like, oh, no, like you get it. And like that's the beauty of the gospel. But also like that is absolutely God's heart, I think, for all of us is to like kind of lower those, I guess, guardrails and actually like let people in and to be fully known and loved, not by everyone, but by like the safe amount of community and people in the specific season that God has you in.
Would you say that you have made it as a writer? Have you had that feeling yet, or what would constitute that in your life?
What would the feeling be of made it? That's such a great question because I mean, I really do deeply think about my life a lot in the sense of, Lord, I don't want to waste it. Like I really want to help people and I want to serve well with everything I think he's put in my hands. And so books, the whole purpose, like we do say, oh yeah, I want to help one person, but at the same time I've really been gently encouraged and kind of like recorrected in my thinking of you don't write a book to help one single person. You write a book so it can be multiplied and be spread and scatter a bunch of seeds across the earth and across the world. And that's what podcasting does too. In like a, hour, 30-minute conversation. Someone can be our friend over in Africa or in Ireland or in Alaska. Like that is the coolest thing. But making it, I think that is an interesting thing because of course there are big dreams and stuff, but my heart really would be to get into not rooms or spaces, but to create spaces of belonging for people. And so whether that's at my local coffee shop where we just like recorded our 100th podcast and we had a little panel and stuff, which is so exciting. Um,
Hmm.
Thank you so much. I mean, that's like those are things that I'm like, oh, that's really cool. But God did that. And God brought all of those friends in my life after I started the podcast, which is like a wild thing. So there are these things that yes, there's like the quote unquote success or, oh, I want it to reach this many, sales. And of course, I want God to do whatever he wants to do with it. Um, but if it honestly opens up gospel centered conversations, which it's already doing, then that's amazing. Like that's what I want more to be done. And honestly, I think about just like going to markets with my business, Gentle and Lowly Co. I have a book, so I get to talk about it. And sometimes that can be a little awkward of self-promoting yourself in person, but I think the best thing recently, a market earlier this year, a girl came into my booth. She read the back of my book and she said, "This is what I need." Like, and she just bought it. And I was like, in that moment, I was like, wow, Lord, that's why I wrote this book. Like, because there's people out there who need it. And I'm like, I needed it when I was younger. And sometimes I still need it to be reminded of it. So I hope that answers your question, Morgan. And just like to encourage people, who need it, that's kind of making it because it is for the one, but it's also for the many. And it's kind of our fishes and loaves, if you will, whatever God wants to do with it, right?
Holding it with such a open hand, and I love that. You're not grabbing onto this like tightly. You have that loose grip and you're letting the Lord really multiply this in a way that you might not ever really know the full capacity of. And I think that's what makes something like this so powerful. And your business isn't just your book, right? You, like you mentioned, you have a podcast. What else is your business encompassing?
Yeah, oh my goodness. It's just so fun because it's kind of so many things, but I love thinking about like the whole kind of ecosphere, how it all connects together. So my business, besides addisonot.com, you can look at all my things, podcasting, speaking, author, entrepreneurship, but the entrepreneurship hat is very much over here with Gentle and Lowly Co. And so it's really just looking at Jesus and looking at his life and helping people carry the gentle love of Jesus wherever they go. And so there's a lot of ways we do that, but I really want to help people like one, live out their faith boldly. So we do that through selling Christian curated apparel, like clothing, kind of merchandise and things. And we're doing a really fun thing. It's also ambitious. It's like one of those ideas we talked about, Morgan, where you're like, okay, am I supposed to do this? And I'm like, I think it sounds fun, And if not, it's for a year. And so we'll see how it goes. But we're doing a tea of the week every week for this year, which is insane. I know. It's incredible, but at the same time, it's like a good pre-order model, way to like, make it sustainable and also rest and helpful or healthy as well. And so we're doing that just to like one, creatively stretch me in like a good growing way, but also to help people, with different designs and t-shirts and sweatshirts that help them share the gospel. Like sometimes, we need that bold kind of tap on the shoulder from a stranger to be like, hey, wait, can you tell me more about that? Or like, hey, I love your shirt. And be like, wait, that can open up a conversation. So that's one of my favorite ways to do that. And also, who doesn't need like a good sweatshirt after church for that like 2 p.m. nap? Like
Oh,
everyone does.
yes.
So it's so good.
Oh yeah, I'm a sweatshirt girl at heart. But tell me, are you designing 52 different designs for these t-shirts?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's 52 like for this year. So like they're not all designed, but I'm like I don't have my binder with me around here, but it's I have this binder and it's like my whole kind of I guess plan for, all the ministry things and business and I was like, okay, this is gonna be a lot and the way that I'll do it, even for times when I take a break, we'll have so many up, for maybe 2 weeks at a time or something, and then they'll all ship together. Like things like that to build in rhythms of rest because Sabbath is really important to me, and I also want to model that. If Jesus did it, then we also need to do it as well, and to be reminded to be refreshed. So there's ways I haven't mastered it yet because we're still, the first couple, months of the year or so much, or maybe half of the year, and there's ways to learn, and I think that's like part of the journey of being a creative is refining that process. And the reality, though, too, as a graphic designer with t-shirt designs, it maybe for me at least, I'm not doing anything crazy complex. Like, I know there can be a lot more detail and a lot more nuanced, and I'm like, well, I just want it to be fun and simple and also life-giving to me as a designer, creative. And so, I might have some help with, looking at inspiration and different things and some, maybe templates of sorts just to, use your advantage, use your strengths, but you don't have to do everything from scratch. That was a hard thing, I think, to remember that SCAD really made us do, which is good to know how to do it from scratch. But also, if I need an illustration and I can't draw, I can like go resource that and have that be helpful. So that's kind of a disclaimer there in some ways. And it's not less creative, I'm not using Chat GPT to like design my stuff, I guess I should say. But at the same time, it's been a really fun process where I might sit down for a couple hours while I'm watching a show and just kind of design away, like having some scripture, kind of like by, verses for each thing, starting with that and just writing down certain phrases from the verse that stand out to me, and then be like, okay, well, I think I could place this here, place that there. I think that looks good. What's the design? Can we do a patch or like a logo thing? And just kind of go from there. Maybe make like 5 designs in a couple hours. So it's not as overwhelming as it sounds in some ways. But then we do have joyful accessories. So that's like where it can get fun, where I can do like stickers. We've done like little Bible kind of like pocket truths, they're Bible verse cards, little mini notes and things. A lot of fun things like that and art prints and stuff. But the podcast is like really a heartbeat and an extension of all of those things. And so even that community I described and the gentle love of Jesus, I've been saying this a lot because I actually believe it to be true. It is one thing to put on a t-shirt, to put on a sweatshirt. I think that's a great start to like being bold, sharing your faith, and like just going and living sit in the world like on mission. I think that's such a humbling start that you want to be sent by God and you want to be used by Him. But also following Jesus is a continual journey. And how do we actually do that when we are representing him out in the world? And so the podcast is where we're having those authentic conversations of how we're carrying the gentle love of Jesus, whatever your profession is. If you're an author, you're a musician, you are a mom, a dad, like, of course, maybe some pastors on there because we need advice and wisdom. But even if you work at Kroger or Starbucks or you're a dog groomer, like if we say the gospel's for everyone and everyone has a role to play in the kingdom of God, how are we actually modeling that in our everyday lives? And his love is gentle and we can carry it with us wherever we go.
So powerful. And you bring up a great point. I think I've mentioned it on this podcast before, and it's not originally my idea, so I can't take credit for it. But the idea that missionaries can't go into the corporate offices of America, and that we have a mission field wherever we are. Like you're saying, wearing that t-shirt, it doesn't matter that we're not going to, some island to help third world
Yep.
situations. Like you can really minister to whoever you're around, just like Jesus did. And I really think that's beautiful that you're doing that through like the stickers, the apparel. I think that's a great idea. And you also talk about living a slow lifestyle. Can you go more in depth about that?
Yeah, oh my goodness. Yes. I mentioned Sabbath and kind of like slowing down, those kind of rhythms. And again, I know I'm really young, but at the same time, I look at my life when I was in college and I'm like, wow, I actually have grown in this area a lot. And the fun thing about that, in that season of my life, we used to have Fridays off because, SCAD was an art school being a little different. It was Monday through Thursday. And so I'm like, man, if I would have started my Sabbath in like this slower lifestyle, I wouldn't have been at the computer lab at 2 a.m. different things. And so for our friends listening who are that creative and you're like, well, that's just when I get my work done, like I promise you, you will be healthier for it. And also it will still be a battle as long as you do it. But this like imitation of living a slow life, like I say all that because you're never too young to start. You may think, oh, I'll do that when I have more responsibility. Like everyone has a full life and what we're saying yes to. But when we really look to Jesus, looking at the way that he lives, he wasn't in a hurry. Like we both know that, but also like our world is so fast and so interconnected. I'm like, I mean, for my full-time job right now, my day job also on the side, that's still a thing. I do social media, for that full time. And so I'm like, I'm online all the time, whether it be for that or be for business and creativity ministry. And it is hard to unplug and to not be so interconnected. And it's a gift, but also I think if we are serving the world and not like reaching our neighbors, we're doing it wrong. Like if they don't know our names and they don't have our Christmas cards and things, like if they're not a part of our lives, like I don't know if Jesus would say that's like a healthy balance, you know? And so I think it's a really great metaphor. I think just over the past several years, I've been living up in northern Indiana. It's on my family's kind of farm over the years, and just outside my window, there's the woods, and my dog Kodak and we just go walk outside when the weather's really nice and do kind of a prayer walk. He runs, I just follow him. He comes back. But just like thinking about the disciples walking with Jesus, going from town to town. My town is so small. We have one grocery store, one McDonald's, Dairy Queen. I mean, like those are a big deal. And just thinking about you don't have to be in this big, big place. God might call you there. And I'm even learning that again and again. He will uproot us, but at the same time, a slow life, a quiet life that Paul talks about in the epistles is a beautiful thing. And it's a thing to be steward and a gift. And so whatever your calling is in the season, whether it's raising these tiny humans, or even caring for a dog or stewarding your business or your job in the marketplace, like there can be this way where it's a gift to carry. It's not a burden, that we're carrying. It's something to steward. And it's a beautiful thing of just, knowing these boundaries and being like, yeah, actually, like there's some days, okay, when you're gonna like work late and stuff, of course. But knowing like when you do your best work setting up these rhythms. And so trying to have a Sabbath every 7 days, whatever that looks like for you, whether you used to, you work on church stuff. I used to do that. And so your weekends look different, whether you work part-time, like whatever your role is, right? Like you can do it. And I would encourage our friends who are like, I can't take a day off. Like that sounds terrifying. Everything's gonna blow up. Like you don't understand my life. I'm like, trust me, I do. Like I've been there. I've made all those, I don't say excuses, but I've said all those things to my friends and to the God as well. And I just want to encourage our friends listening, like just to start where you are, take that 15-minute walk. I think it's going to do you a lot of good, and just like giving yourself permission to be human. It sounds so silly sometimes, they're so simple, but like so many times I find myself with just surrounded by screens. And I'm like, not that these aren't good tools, but also we need to lay them down to make sure they don't become idols in our hearts. And I think that's a cultivation over time, and it's something that I'll continuously learn, but I just really want to continue to be present with people. And so I think that's the gift when we look to Jesus' life. He was present with everyone who interrupted him with his busy schedule, and he didn't turn them away. And so I want my life to reflect that, and I hope our friends listening will, we can try it to continue to learn together with that.
Yeah, it's one of those easier said than done type things for sure.
Yes, it absolutely is. And I'm like, I still have days where I'm like, oh, that did not go as planned. And I'm like, okay, instead of beating yourself up, like, remember there's grace for today and there's grace for tomorrow, and God will give you exactly what you need for each day.
That's a powerful message, and that's something that I still struggle with, honestly. Like being the, like you mentioned, being the one of the good kids in school, the ones who don't
Yep.
make trouble,
Yes.
the quiet ones. Everyone's like, "Oh, you're so calm and quiet." It's like you
Right.
don't hear what's in my
But
head. You just
inside,
hear what I'm not saying. I just have
yes.
self-control to not say it out loud.
Hmm.
And I think that's what that type of personality, my type of personality, needs to hear exactly what you just said, that it's not about performing and trying to make it look like you're taking it slow. You actually have to do the thing.
Yeah, and it is grueling. I mean, I'm like, I really enjoy creating, social media posts sometimes and like getting creative and being inspired, or even going to markets, setting up booths and things. But also, I have to remember like that's not my identity. Like if I am holding it loosely and like actually letting God drive it, have the steering wheel, then how am I laying it down? And I'm like, that is so, so hard. The more successful you get to do, you get to grow and be, but also if you're even just getting started, you're like, oh no, I want to hold on to the reins. And it's like, no, we got to let them go. You're so right though. I'm just like, oh, it is so hard. I'm like, I'm gonna be entering my summer Sabbath in a couple weeks, and I'm already thinking about, oh, those first like week or so, it's grueling. But by the third week or fourth week, I'm like, I don't want to go back sometimes. So it's a good practice, and I think we'll be better for it. But yeah, just start with that 15 minutes. I really think you'll see a difference kind of each week. Hmm.
It's a good challenge. Just 15
Hmm.
minutes. And
That's
then
it.
we can do 15 minutes, we can do longer, but right now, just 15 minutes.
Yeah, and it's getting nicer outside, so I feel like you have more encouragement to, go for a walk, go for a bike ride. I mean, heck, you can even just like go get ice cream, make that be part of your fun thing. Whatever you want to do. Like, there's not as many rules around it as we think.
And wondering, what is it all about?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good question. So I kind of alluded a little bit, to my life of just, me and my dog Kodak. And so you could look at my life. I'm 28 years old right now, and there's been a lot of seasons of waiting. I mentioned my friends, they're in different seasons, whether it be married and having kids. And that hasn't been my story for right now. And for a lot of my life, Morgan, I was like pretty honest. I was like, I don't know if that ever will be. And I still don't know yet. Like, it's still a process of waiting and this becoming one with Jesus and following him. And even though, like, I'm hoping for that future to be married and, have a family, whatever God wants, there still is this waiting and surrendering that that is not the ultimate thing in my life. Like, it's a good thing. These are good gifts that God gives us, but also, is my life truly to follow Jesus? Like, is that first and foremost? And I think there's kind of been this pruning, if I'm being honest, over the past couple years, because you just think it's gonna happen. Like, especially in college, you're young and you're like, oh wait, I'm gonna graduate, and you're like, oh, especially in like Christian, communities, oh, there's no ring by spring. Like, did I do something wrong? Did I hear God wrong? Am I in the wrong place? Did I miss it? All of these things. But for me, honestly, there's been this Christian community of single women who are more in Indianapolis area, these friends that I've really been praying for over the past couple years, and now we've been friends probably for 3 years. And I'm just like, wow, I look at God, and I think that is like such an encouragement because when you do have friends who are in different seasons, it is really hard. Like your friendships will shift and change, and you do have to be the one who, if you are single, like to fight for it in a way. Like I can go get on a plane and just like go be there, right? And especially working remotely, I can do that. And so there's ways, there's give and take, and of course we still have like full lives that are on purpose, on mission. But this group of friends, to have people who are in the same season, whether they're older than you, like that has been so encouraging for me, or the same age. I can't tell you, like I had probably one of the best Christmases last year in a way, like just December, because of course celebrating with my family was such a joy, but also I filled it with like my friends. Like we all had time for one another to celebrate Jesus, of course, but like also just friendship and hot cocoa and like fun drinks and things. Um, but even in the summer, I'm like, we're already planning like a trip to Nashville. Like, and it's gonna be so fun. I know. It's so cool. So I say all that to be like, oh, you could look at your life and be like, oh, Lord, is this gonna happen for me ever? And I'm like, there are good days, Morgan, and there are bad days. There are days where I'm like, I'm more just want to watch a rom-com movie and be like, yeah, that's really cute. I wish my life looked like that. But also, that's not the reality. And then there are other days where I'm so grateful I can hop on a plane and go to a retreat or go see a friend or go to a conference or go serve somewhere, and like what a freedom and what a gift that is. And so not just, it's not making the best of it, but like seeing it as an adventure with Jesus, because our life always will be, and it's actually a beautiful one that's unfolding. And if you have passions like you do, God has put something in your hands, just ask him what this season makes possible right now. And I really want to just give kind of just like all the encouragement to our friends. Like, you might be thinking, oh, I'm just the only one. Like, I thought that too. And these friends that I mentioned, I was praying for them, and like God brought them in the most unexpected way. And I really feel like there's just been a lot of healthier language about this season of my life. Not, again, not seeing it as a burden or woe is me. It's actually something to celebrate, and to like celebrate with Jesus as we're walking towards whatever doors he's opening, and also like hoping and praying that our best days are ahead with him, but also with community and with whatever good gifts he wants to give us. Mm.
On the same page.
Yeah.
Right. Which that probably you just need to come back and we'll do a whole episode
Okay,
on
we can.
singleness.
Sure. A lot of experience there.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And I think when I finally realized a couple of years ago that I was mad at God for not giving me something that he actually never promised he would ever give me, when I finally realized that, and realized that also if that relationship and that family does come, then that means I have less time for my own personal creativity. I completely changed my perspective, and now I'm more fruitful than ever in terms of my creativity and what I'm able to say with my art, and actually make the pieces that I want to make. And um, a lot of my pieces, for those who don't know, are very Christian inspired, if not full in your face Christian. Still, I'm spreading my message that way. And that's something that I might never get again. And that season that you're talking about, that a lot of people see as such a failure, especially in the church. And now this is why this is going to need to be a whole episode, because I think the church could work on that, of saying that singleness is not a failure. But it really did free up my creative process to just unleash in a whole new way that I never even expected.
Man, yeah, I'm so grateful that you shared that because I mean, it's so, so true. As you're talking, I'm like, there's so many things because I'm like, yes, we probably need to do another episode about this because there's so much more of just like, yeah, how we talk about it in our Christian spheres and our churches. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a lesser than, or it's not this finish line you have to cross and then you're more spiritual. Like, we can totally, have another conversation all about those things. And just healthier language around the season. But even I just want to tell you too, Morgan, of like reframing like what you're even saying of like, wait a minute, I do have more time. And yes, like, we are still busy, like we still have things to tend to. And that sometimes we're like, the time is running out. Like I'm just like, how is it already, so late today? I'm like, it's crazy. But at the same time, I'm like, man, I had like the best day ever doing what I love, doing a campaign for social media at my day job and all these things. But also, one of the things I remembered that I've been so encouraged, I think it was last year, I did this annual planning retreat with my mentors, and that's kind of like the summer Sabbath, kind of inspiring that a little bit more, just to really dream with God of what does he want you to walk into? Like, what does he want you to walk into, Morgan? And our friends listening, like, you are a daughter of him, or you're a son of him, if you're a guy. Like, what is he calling you to do? And one of the things my mentors, Anna and Donnie, the husband at Donnie, said, Addie, like, I know, marriage is something that's on your heart. It's a beautiful thing that God's put on there. But the one thing he did say is that how can you see this season as a strength? Like, this is your greatest strength right now. Like, yes, it's a great thing to have that, but also this is a season where you can get so much more ministry, quote unquote, done. Like, if you are ready for the harvest, I think God will bring it. Like, I mean, and of course, He can, like, I'm so grateful. Like, I look at my friends who are married and I see how God has just like breathed on their marriage and they're doing more ministry, they're running in tandem together. But also, you look at this season of our lives where we actually just are freed up with more margin in different ways. We have different opportunities at that. And how can you see this as a strength and not a weakness or not a failure, like you said? And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I love that you said that. And so it's like, man, I think that was like the kindest thing someone has ever said to me about being single, that it's not a failure and it is a strength. And God doesn't see us that way also. Yeah.
Cool stuff. Okay, yes, you're definitely going to be a returning guest. We
I'd
have
love
way
to
too
come
much
back.
to talk about.
Yes. It's so fun. See, God knew we were going to be friends. I love this. Yes.
Exactly, I know. It's amazing how that works out and
Mhm.
technology can connect us in that way. And I think that's just so beautiful. That we'll I don't know, maybe we'll meet in person, but
Yes,
we're
I want to go to Asheville or South
yes.
Carolina. I love those places. I've drove through them so much. So yes, I will
Yeah,
come.
come see me in Asheville.
Yes.
Yeah, but yes, to the listeners, we've never met before, so
Yeah.
so this is our first introduction to one another, and I think that's
Yes.
beautiful that God just allows
Mhm.
personalities to come click
Yeah.
so well. Not to say that conversations with other guests are any less important, but it is amazing when you find a kindred spirit, a special
Yeah.
heart. And I
Just
have just enjoyed having you on the show so much. Thank you so much for coming on here and just really being honest and candid and sharing um, your up close and personal life with all of our friend listeners out there.
yeah, well, Morgan, I mean, I feel like we do our best learning together. And so I said that, I'm like, I mean it when I want to learn with people together in rooms. I mean, it's so funny. This is like such a random tangent, but we're gonna go here. I'm like, I signed up for book clubs. There's like online book clubs because I was like, wait a minute, I need the accountability to read, and also I want to learn with people and learn together. And so I feel like podcasts invite you into this deeper space with community, with the guest, with the host. But I really feel it like whenever I listen to a podcast, I'm like, no, like you're a part of my life in a way. We might meet in person one day, and I can't wait to like pick up our conversation just like right where we leave off with you and with any of our friends listening. So I truly, truly count it a gift. And of course, I think there's power in our testimonies and just sharing our real lives because, yeah, we can all learn how to follow Jesus better together.
Want to leave you with the last word. Tell us where we can shop your 52 amazing t-shirts and where we can get your stickers and your book and your second book when it comes out.
Yeah. Well, you're so kind, Morgan. There's so many things, so I'll try to make it easy for our friends listening. You can go to addisonott.com, so ADDISONOTT.com. You can find my book, my business, podcast, and then probably second book there whenever it's released as well. And then really, if you just want to go like check out everything Gentle and Lowly Co., it is Gentle and Lowly, all spelled out, and then it's .co. So we're gonna put that in the show notes. And then my favorite place to hang out online is honestly Instagram. It's just so much fun for me. I don't know why. I just love creating there and just sharing my life and hopefully being an encouragement. And so you can find me over there at Addie ADDIE .OTT, and you can come say hi. And also, if any friends who are listening, if they have like a church, event coming up, women's in ministry event, or youth, high school, I love, pouring into the next generation. So I'd love to come and be a speaker at your church.
Hidden talent we didn't even get to talk about.
Hey, next time, right? There we go.
Yep. Well, until the next episode, thank you so much, and we'll talk soon.